We're going to take a look at a song I think is really cool. It's Highwayman, and it was written by Jimmy Webb in the mid-70s, came out on his album El Mirage in 1977, and he, as is the case with many Jimmy Webb songs, they're frequently made into bigger hits by other people. And somebody he had that had done a lot of his songs, of course, in his early days, was Glen Campbell. And so Glen really wanted to do this song. He liked it. He'd done a whole bunch of albums for Capitol Records, and wanted this to be his next hit. Capitol was not too keen on this. They wanted him to go in a slightly different direction, a little poppier and that kind of stuff. And it eventually led to him splitting with the label, and after like 30 albums or something. So he did record it and put it out on his album Highwayman in 1979, and also kind of tried to get Johnny Cash interested in it, which didn't quite happen. Johnny just couldn't see it happen, and Jimmy Webb also tried to get Waylon Jennings interested in it, and they couldn't see it happen until a few years later in 1984, when they were in Switzerland, I believe, working on an album that they didn't have a name for yet, didn't have a name for the band, but it was the four of them: Willie, Waylon, Kris, and Johnny Cash. And the song, all of a sudden, crossed their plate again. A friend of theirs showed it to them, and bingo, lights went on, and they came up with a version that is, a very cool country version, a little bit more like what I just played right there. Well, that was kind of their sound in it. And but Glen's original version was done fingerpicking, with that kind of stuff. Very distinctive little intro. We're going to take a look at that. So that's what's going to happen in this lesson. We're going to look at two different versions of it: Glen Campbell's fingerpicking version and the Highwaymen's version, that is really just a strumming and a singing song. So first I'd encourage you to go listen to those and maybe try to figure out the chord progression. They're in slightly different keys. Jimmy Webb wrote it on the piano in the key of C minor, and there are a couple of different things you can do with a song that's in C minor as far as the guitar goes. Well, one is you can play it in C minor one way or another way. You could also transpose it to a nearby key that's a little more guitar friendly. So that's, now there's also, I gotta recommend another version for you to check out, and that is, I can't remember the name of this album right now, but it came out a few years ago. It was Jimmy Webb with a bunch of different, playing a lot of his songs with various guest artists. And his version of Highwayman with Mark Knopfler playing guitar is really, really cool. We're not gonna go into that one in this lesson. I might approach that another time. So in this one we are going to just take a look at the Highwaymen's version and Glen Campbell's version of Jimmy Webb's Highwayman.